All right, so the cover glue should be dry with the felt and the lace and everything else should be dry, especially considering that when I walked away from it, I went and fixed supper after double tapping my phone. So I recorded for another 2 hours before I realized that it had happened. Goodness. That was easy enough to delete because you saw nothing. You were literally watching glue dry. In the meantime, I pulled the wire edging that is in the edge of a wired ribbon. I pulled that out of these 2 lengths of ribbon because they're going to be incorporated into sewing in the signatures. They're not just here for prettiness, although they are very pretty. So I'm going to move the atlas off. Let's see if it's not stuck to the atlas, so that's a good thing. Oh goodness, that's heavy though. Okay. So now we have this. And here's our felt, and it's all nice, dry, and secured. We'll make sure that it still folds like it's supposed to. And the way I do that is I fold along each of the creases where the cereal box front and back connect to the side to make sure that it can still open and close. It will be a little stiff at first, but sometimes journals just are until they get used. Most books are that way. So I've got those bins, I think pretty well, would the word be demarcated, marked out? You know where they are. How about that? So we're not putting on the front of the journal yet. We are going to sew in the signatures. And for me, this is really the trickiest part. I tried doing something I saw someone else do. I have a big chomp, and I tried doing that, and it was really good at going through all the signatures and getting them done easily. But the hole, even the smallest hole, is big, and it shows. It really shows. One way that I did alleviate that problem, I guess, on some of my journals is when it was sewn in here, I just took a piece of lace and I glued it to the back and to the front. But I really don't want to do that on this one because then it'll cover up the lace that's back here. So I am going to just do the hand sewing. I'm going to get my ruler out and find the center. And the center, let's see, this measures, goodness gracious, let's turn this light on. That might help. Might not help you, but it'll help me. From end to end, you know what, I'm just going to find the, there we go. Let's just do it this way, because that'll be a little bit easier. The center is right there. And then, and I can see these 2 lines here. And then, top to bottom, it's 7.5, so it's going to be 3 3/4. So there's going to be where my center holes will be, but there will be 2 signatures. And since it's an inch, let's see, it's 2 inches almost. It's rather early in the morning now, and I'm trying to figure math. It's actually 1 3/4. So that would be, half of that would be, well, half of 1 1/2 is 3/4. And then half of 3/4 is 3/8. So it's going to be 3/4 plus 3/8. 6 and 3, so it's 1 1/8 inches. And that's going to be where the center is. Now I need to go out from that. So I'm not going to do really specific. How about that? Now here's the center. And I'm just going to come out a 1/2 inch, or come out to, what is that, 5/8 of an inch here and 5/8 of an inch here from this side. The center, like I said, will be at 3 3/4 on both, or 3 1/4 on both of those sides. And then I will come down 2 inches from the 3 1/4. So that'll be 3/4. That's why it's not working. And so I'll come down to the 2 inch mark, and I'll come down. It doesn't work either. I'm probably going to take all this math stuff and just mark it. Oh, goodness. Okay, I'm going to get my marker. All right, so I'm going to get ready to mark my signatures. I have already cut out all the mathing I was trying to do. Mathing, that's not a word. It's just early. And I'm going to grab one of my markers here. And I know that I want to come down halfway, and that's at 3 1/4. 3 3/3, which is right here. And then from each edge of the cereal box, which is right here, I can feel it, I want to come in 5/8 of an inch. So that's going to be right there. There's 3/4. Let's see. 5/8 is here. And then I'll do the same. I'll come in at 5/8 from this side. 3/4, 5/8, right there. And that gives me a little room in the middle that I can put a smaller book. I can put a little journal book. I can put a traveler's notebook. I could put a packet of ephemera when I leave that 1/2 inch in between the 2 spaces. Let's get these 2 dots right now on the proper line. 7 1/2, so 3 3/4 will be right here. That one, and we'll X that out. And I was really close. I was eyeballing it where it would be. 3 3/4 right there. And now I'm going to move this to the 4 just because it's easier to do the math in my head. And I'm going to come down and make a mark at 2 inches. And I'm going to make a mark at 6 inches. And then I'll do the same on this line. 2 inches, 6 inches. And now I am going to find my cap. And I'm going to get my platform. And this is actually a piece of spongy styrofoam. I don't think it's styrofoam. I think it's polystyrene, maybe. Is that the right word? I don't know. It's like pool noodles are made out of, and those kind of things. And I've had this for a while, and it's worked very well for me. And I'll put that underneath of the journal, and then I will grab out of my pokes and pulls section my awl. I actually have a couple of awls, but this one is my favorite. It's clover. I think it actually came in a set with something else, but I don't know what that was at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our awl right here on the dot and then just punch through. And I like to punch way through because I don't know if it actually does happen, but it seems to me that sometimes my holes want to close up or shrink or something. So I punch all the way through and it seems to stay a little more open. And see how quickly that goes through? There's no fiddling around. I really like it. And it's not really huge, so it doesn't make real noticeable holes. After you put your threads through, it's pretty much covered up. Although this is going to be covered up anyway. I still like the thought of it not being a big mess. Oh, I'm moving too soon. I still need to poke holes in my signatures. So, what we will do, and part of the reason on here that instead of trying to do the math to find out where to poke these holes, I just move it to a central location, a central number. Like if it was on 7, I could move to 5. I line it up on one of the whole numbers because then I can just go 2 inches, 2 inches, because my cover is not the exact same dimension as my journal pages. So that way I can just measure halfway down, find my center point, and then measure 2 inches from each of those locations. Okay, and I have decided that it's easier. Okay, so this is exactly 7, so this is going to be 7.5 for this signature. And so I measured the 7.5, I line that up, and I like to fold it like this because it keeps it seated in the center of the signature. And now I just move 2 inches from the hole. In this case, it's going to be 12, so it's going to be right there. And do the same thing. I did divide up my section because I know that when I try to do it all at once, I have a harder time keeping it lined up correctly. So there is that. I don't need to poke a hole in my lace. It's already full of holes. So I'll just take that off and put it over here. I do know that this will line up along the center of the spine. And so now I'll take another handful. I'll come all the way to this doily and separate, and then I will come and find the center again. It would be easier if the numbers, the standard numbers were on this side and the metric were on the other side, but you work with what you got. Let's see. Okay, so we need 3.5. For this one, I did keep the napkin or the handkerchief in because I need to punch holes through it. And then 2 inches. And then 2 inches. And to keep these straight as I get them cut, I take a pokey tool of some sort and I will put that through all of my holes just so it stays together and I don't have to try realigning all of those like this one just did. If I had done this already, I wouldn't be fighting with this lace right now. There we go. Because when I picked it up, it would have stayed in place. That one. This also helps to keep your pages that are up and down in different locations in order. And this way you're only fussing around with 1 or 2 pages at a time instead of all of them in the book. And I'm sorry, I know I've got this pulled way over to me, but I'm trying to. There we go. Trying to see what I'm doing. Although I know you need to see what I'm doing as well. Hopefully we've got a happy medium there. And then and sometimes I wonder if it wouldn't be easier to just go ahead and punch each hole one at a time and load them onto some sort of device. Maybe I need to invent a device that will make that work. So I'm going to load my doily onto the pokey tool through the center, so that it's aligned, just like that. I'm going to take another section of the journal, All right, so that one is all lined up now. And this is going to be the first journal in our, the first signature in our journal. And I think I want to go ahead and get that sewn in now. And this is where the lace comes into play right now, because this is going to be my binding. So I need to find the center of the lace and find the center of the book, of the journal. And I'm going to put a small bead of glue right there. And let it dry for a moment. And that was in the wrong place. Needed to be over here because of where I'm sewing the journal, the signature in. One ribbon is going to go around one signature, and the other ribbon is going to go around the other signature. So I'm going to hold this and let it dry for just a little bit. All right, and now I'm going to do the same. I should have gone ahead and glued this at the same time, and I don't know why I didn't. So I will find my second hole that's over here. May have to look to get a hint so that it can be glued where the second signature is going. And you'll see how this fastener works when we get the signatures all sewn in. Okay, so now we're getting ready to sew in the signatures. Finally. 2, 3. I like to be generous with my signature ties because it's much easier to cut off the excess than it is to try to add more. Matter of fact, it's not impossible, but much more work than I am willing to do. I'd rather just have too much at the beginning. Okay. So we'll set one of these to the side. I went ahead and cut both of them at the same time. I'm going to use one at a time, obviously. All right, so I'm going to get my needle here. And I'm going to thread this waxed thread. I have this, I got a book I got a bookmaker's kit, and I got, oh, that's where that all came from. It was in the bookmaker's kit. And I got 3 rolls of multicolored wax thread. And I just really like having the ability to have the different colors. All right, so this one is going to be in the front, and this front set of holes is where I'm going to sew the signatures in. So I'm going to start in that center hole, the one that we punched in the very middle of the spine. And I'm going to pull this until my thread, the other end of my waxed thread, hangs down about, I don't know, about 6 inches past the bottom of the book cover. And that's what you do if you want your dangles to be on the back or your ties to be on the back. You start from the back side and come up through the middle. If you want them to be on the inside, then you start on the inside. That's, I think, fairly easy to remember. Now I'm going to grab a couple of my clamps, and I am going to hold the pages together, and I'm going to push them in as snugly as I can and put it on the opposite side of the journal, just like that. Okay, now I can take this out that was holding my signature together, and making sure that I've got it right side up, because I have sewn signatures in upside down, I've sewn pages in upside down. I'm going to come through this hole. Now you may still need to look around, because sometimes things are going to shift no matter what you do. And I also tend to have a pair of pliers handy, just because sometimes the needle and the thread don't want to go through that hole very easily. Okay, so we've got that part. Now we're going to go down through this bottom hole, bottom set of holes here, and push it out. Also, the wax sometimes makes the needle a little slippery. Okay, and so now we're going to find the hole down here, and I didn't punch this hole through the ribbon. That's not very helpful. So what I'll do in this case is, holding everything together, I'll look on the back, and I'll go ahead and punch up through the ribbon. And now I can see where that hole is, so that I know where to. All right, and our first signature is sewn in. I've got the book upside down. I scared myself for a second. I thought I sewed it in upside down. Hooey, after all that. And so here is our first signature sewn in. And what this is for is each signature, instead of tying the whole book, each signature has its own closure. That way I don't have to have an outside closure on the journal. And the journal will lay flat by itself without anything having to keep it laid down. Now it's not right now, because of course the spine is still stiff, but we'll work on that as we go. So now this one I have to oh, look what I did. I sewed that underneath of the first signature. But I can take care of it, because I can just snip it, and I can use that ribbon elsewhere. Or, let's see, how terrible would that make it if I just left it like that? Yeah, I don't like that. That looks bunched up. So we'll just cut this part out, up. So we'll just cut this part out very carefully so I don't cut my lace underneath. Oh, I need to have my fabric scissors. They'll work much better than those little pointy scissors. There we go. And we'll just leave that in there. It doesn't look bad. And I can cover it up if I feel the need. So I'm going to get my ribbon out. This was actually a holiday ribbon and I got it on sale. It is a wired ribbon, which means it's got two little wires running through the edges, one on either side. And I will show you how I remove those. Okay, so now I need to take the one with the hole in it and put it over here so that I can use it again. I have just a little bit left on the roll there that I can still use. The way I remove the wire from the wire edged ribbon is you can see right here a little tiny piece of that silver wire sticking out. Maybe you can see that. Anyway, it's there. And I take and I just start pulling. And I pull and I move this down. And sometimes you have to move down the entire length. Otherwise it gets bunched up and doesn't want to go anywhere. For extra, for extra strength on holding that end, I will wrap it around my finger. Not tight. And I don't pull really hard, but it also gives me a little bit more sturdiness on pulling it out. Instead of just trying to hold on to a thin piece of wire, it's like the anchor on a tug-of-war team. And then, because I use these wires in my journals and in my crafts, I take and I wrap it around these fingers. I use 3 fingers. And then I twist. And that keeps it nice and neat and untangled. And I can use that in other projects. I do it a lot. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat this. If you need to, you can use a pair of pliers and do the same thing. And then wrap it around the end of the pliers to get that extra pull on it. The wire is in the ribbon so it'll hold its form when you're making a bow. It also works well to make ruffles. And I have made little faux yo-yos with the wired ribbon. And I can link that video down below. If I remember. I'm having a terrible time remembering what I have said I would link below in my videos. And then I don't do it. So I need to go back through and edit some videos, I think, to make sure that you're getting all the information that I'm trying to share and that everybody's getting credit where credit is due. So there we go. I have a replacement. Oh my goodness. Let's move these scissors back home and find the center here. And find where my hole is, where the bottom of the signature, right there, so that I can glue right next to it. Just put a line of glue right here. And I'll let it sit for a minute. And while it is sitting, I will go ahead and punch the holes in my second signature. All right, so I think I'm going to go show you how, if I was going to just if I was just going to make the holes for my second signature with the signature all in one piece, I would go about it like this. I would get my clip again, and then I would push, push, push as tight as I could down to get that seated well. And actually, as I stitch, it becomes a little bit even more well seated, because I can't push nearly as hard as I can pull with the thread in there. All right, so we've got this just like that. I have my punching platform right there. I have my awl and I have my ruler. Now I'm going to place the ruler. Once again, I wish these numbers were on the other side. And I am going to mark at 3.5, which is right there. Put it on my platform and push really, really hard and hope that it comes out on the crease. See, this comes out just to the side of the crease, and I don't like that, and I can't figure out how to not do that. But I said I'd try it this way, so I'm going to try it this way. Now at 1.5, which is, excuse me, my nose itches, right here. Make sure I'm on the platform. Move my fingers to make sure I'm not sticking through my fingers, and go as straight down as I can. Let's see if that one turned out better. It's a little closer to being on there, and maybe this third one will be even better yet. So we're going to go to 5.5, which is right here. Let's see how it came out. And it's back over here to the side again. So yeah, I like doing it the smaller sets of pages first, just because it seems to work better for me. All right, I'm going to thread my needle and sew this second signature in. And you already saw me do the first one, so I will fast forward through, or just skip over this one. The first one I fast forwarded and edited out a few places because I was just a hot mess. Okay, so both of our signatures are sewn in now. And I will tell you this, I have to turn my journals upside down for the bow to be aimed the right direction. So real quick, let's just see what this will look like. I undid this one because it felt backwards. So close this, and this one is fairly tight because of all the stuff going on in the middle. So there's one. And there's the other. When it's closed and all the ribbons are pulled out of the interior, it will look like this. And once again, I'm going to have to probably weight this down somehow in order to get that to lay flat. And I will trim these down because that's just way too fluffy of ribbon, because that's what's causing everything to stand up. All right, so we're going to undo the ribbons. I think I'll go ahead and trim them now just to make sure that I get that done and that they're not all in the way. I'm going to do, I think it's called a swallowtail cut. And I just fold it in half and I go from the inside closed edge down to the outer closed edge. If you go up, then you're just going to have a banner shape, which some people like that too. See, I just almost did it because I was talking about it. And let's see, let's do the other side. Close this and cut from the center down. Close this. Cut from the center down. Being careful not to cut your fingers. I have done that too, and that hurts, especially right there. Oh my goodness, does that hurt. All right, so that's what it will look like closed. So we've got the inside cover done. We've got the closure done. We have signatures sewn in. We are almost there. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for being so kind with your likes and your comments. I really do appreciate them. I will post a playlist of the making of Mildred's roses below, and I encourage you to check it out. I'm having fun with this. I think the most stressful part is the timing, since I am doing it as part of a challenge. But you know what? That's why it's a challenge. So I just want to remind you, as always, to be kind. Bye, everyone.